All right, so if you're a skilled international living in Sweden, you already know the job hunt can be, well, a really tough and frustrating experience. But what if, instead of just waiting and waiting for a door to open, you actually built your own? In this explainer, we're going to dive into a powerful alternative path, starting your very own mission-driven organization. And this feeling? Oh, it's so common. You know the drill, right? You send out application after application, only to get those polite rejections back, or maybe even worse, just complete silence. It really takes an emotional toll, and it's so easy to start feeling like all your talent is just going to waste. Look, it's not just a feeling, it's a real widespread issue. I mean, some estimates suggest that a staggering 45% of highly skilled international talent here in Sweden are without work that actually matches their qualifications. And the crazy part? This is all happening while companies are still talking about a talent shortage. Makes you think, right? So, what's going on here? Why is it so challenging? Let's break down some of the biggest hurdles you're probably facing. Okay, so you've got the usual suspects. A lot of roles demand fluent Swedish, you need local references, and then there's that classic catch-22, the need for Swedish work experience. But on top of all that, get this. Some research shows that a mind-blowing 7 out of 10 jobs are filled through personal networks. I mean, how are you supposed to tap into that when you're new? Then you throw in those long hiring freezes for summer and the holidays, and the whole thing can just feel impossible. Yeah, it's enough to make you stop and wonder, is there another way forward? A way to actually use your skills, see some real results, and get that sense of purpose back without waiting for someone else to give you permission? Well, the good news is, there is. So what is this new path? It's all about creating your own opportunity. It's about making a huge mindset shift, you know? Going from being a frustrated job seeker to becoming a proactive founder. It's about taking all that energy, all that skill, and channeling it into starting your own NGO or a social purpose organization. And just look at the difference here. On one hand, the passive job search, it just drains your motivation, your growth is totally in someone else's hands. But on the other hand, as a founder, you're chasing a mission you actually believe in. You're using your real professional skills, leadership, project management, you name it. The emotional reward is just huge. You are in control of your growth. And I want to be really clear about this. This isn't just some backup plan. In Sweden, this kind of work is actually highly valued. You see, social entrepreneurs are seen as essential for solving big societal challenges. So by starting an organization to tackle issues like integration or education, you're not running away from your career at all. You're investing in a whole new kind of career, one that has purpose built right into its DNA. Okay, so maybe you're thinking, this sounds interesting. The big question now is, how do you actually do it? Let's get practical and start with the legal stuff. Now, don't let all the Swedish legal terms scare you off. Seriously, the whole process is way more accessible than you probably think. There are basically 3 common, pretty simple structures for setting up a mission-driven organization. All right, let's look at the options. First up, you have the ideell förening. Think of this as your classic nonprofit association. It's perfect for community groups or advocacy work. You just need 3 or more people, and best of all, no startup capital. Then there's the ekonomisk förening, which is basically a cooperative. This is a great fit for social enterprises that are run by a group. And finally, if you need a more formal company structure, there's the ABSVB. This is a special kind of limited company where any profits get reinvested right back into the mission. Honestly, a lot of people just start with the ideell förening because it's so simple and flexible. Okay, so we've covered the legal structure. But of course, that brings us to the next massive question for any founder. Where does the money come from? And let's just be super direct about this because it's important. Starting an NGO does not mean you have to live like a starving artist. This can and absolutely should be a sustainable career path. So let's talk about how you can fund your organization and, yes, pay yourself a salary. And the great news here is that Sweden has a really robust support system. I mean, you've got innovation grants from Vinnova, especially for tech-based ideas. There's MOJJF, which gives out grants for youth and civil society projects. There's the really unique Inheritance Fund, the Allmänna Arvsfonden, for new social projects. And it doesn't stop there. You can look into startup loans from Almi, tap into huge EU funding programs, or even pitch partnerships to companies that have a strong focus on corporate social responsibility. Now, listen up, because this is the really crucial part. When you write a grant proposal to these places, most of them expect you, in fact, they want you, to include salaries for yourself and your staff. This means you can pay yourself a real salary for the important work you're doing. You're literally creating your own job through the project. Okay, so we've talked legal structures. We've talked about finding the money. Now let's get inspired and look at what this actually looks like in the real world. And then we'll break down how you can get started. You know, I think the best motivation always comes from seeing real-life examples, people who have successfully walked this exact path, turning that initial frustration into something with incredible impact. I mean, just look at what's possible. There's a professionals network that started as a simple LinkedIn group and now has over 1,700 members. Another founder built a social enterprise, an ABSVIB, that's created mentorships for thousands of immigrants. We're seeing women's sewing cooperatives in Malmö, language cafes, and coding classes for asylum seekers in Stockholm. People all across Sweden are turning their personal struggles into powerful community solutions. Okay, so are you feeling inspired? I hope so. Because taking that first leap is so much more manageable than it seems. First, just start with your idea. What's the problem you want to solve? Second, talk to people. Go find your future co-founders and supporters in those LinkedIn or meetup groups for internationals. Third, when you're ready, register your organization. And finally, and this is key, just take small, consistent action. Host one little event. Apply for one small grant. Just build that momentum step by step. And please remember this. Your personal experience with the struggle, that is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength. It means you understand the problem on a level no one else can. It makes you the absolute perfect person to build the solution. So it's time to change the question, really. Instead of asking, who will hire me? I want you to start asking yourself, what will I build? You have the power to completely redefine your story in Sweden and turn all that job hunting heartache into a launchpad for something truly, truly meaningful.